with flowers strewn, is adorned by Meru, four lands, by sun and moon. Seeing this to be a Buddha field, I offer it. May all beings experience this utterly pure land. Om Guru Ratna Mandala Pudza Mega Samudra Saparana Samaye Ahom. As befits the different wishes of sentient beings and their intellects, turn the Dharma wheel of vehicles, great and small and common. Thus we pray.
Hello, friends. Good morning. As always, I'm so happy to be here and to see you, my family, and those who watch us online. Hello, добрий вечір. Дуже рада вас всіх бачити. Today, today's topic is Shamata and Vipassana practice. And I will be giving these teachings based on commentaries of Bokar Rinpoche's commentary on the ninth Gyalva Karmapa Wangchung Dorje, Ocean of Definitive Meaning, and from the instructions of Karma Chagme, with commentaries of Gyaltrul Rinpoche, and also from a commentary of Jogyap Rinpoche. We all come to Dharma Center with some expectations. If we wouldn't have like expectations, we probably wouldn't come here. And different people might have different expectations. So some people experience intense suffering and they look for means to alleviate their suffering, to dissolve their suffering and causes of suffering. Some people come to socialize, to communicate, and some people come just for looking for entertainment or like for good time. So it doesn't matter what is like first reason for people to come to Dharma Center, but main thing, everybody comes to have something good out of it. So basically to feel good, like to feel good emotions, to have a good time. So basically different levels of happiness. So basically everybody comes to Dharma Center for in search of happiness, whatever, doesn't matter whatever way they perceive it. So happiness is our natural state of mind. And so we all have right to be happy because that's very natural to us, to all beings. The problem is that we don't, or beings don't always know how to reach that happiness, which is not temporary, which is not leading to suffering. So, and Dharma help us to understand actually how to remove that suffering. Usually beings who don't understand Dharma, who don't understand the law of cause and effect, the law of karma, will look for happiness, will look for happiness on outside. And it's good, actually, it's actually also good to look for happiness outside, but with understanding of causes of happiness. And if we look where happiness comes from, we start to understand it comes from our mind. Of course, just hearing this information is not enough to see it. Yeah, some of you more advanced in practice, you understand that both happiness and suffering, they're rooted in your mind, but there are so many beings that actually don't see that, and they look for happiness using not very ethical means, not very using means that actually will will plant seeds of suffering. So in order to be very productive in practice, we need to understand what does practice do and how to apply it. Because practice is a skillful means which we apply while we are working with our mind. And to see that suffering comes from our mind, you have to contemplate and you actually have to look at your own life experience. Just hearing from somebody that suffering comes from your mind does not help much. Of course, if you have trust in Dharma, in teachers of Dharma, so you might believe them. But in order to like really see, you have to look at your life experience and to be able to distinguish, you know, like whenever like you have unhappy moments, what is that feels unhappy? You know, does it come from outside? Of course, outside conditions and events, they might be they might trigger the states of mind, but then who is experiencing suffering? That comes from your mind. So if you understand that suffering comes from mind, you will understand that on a path to liberation, we work with our mind. You know, and that's why they say, like, when you hear teachings, you have to contemplate. Contemplation, it's not only giving you it's not only helping you to understand teachings, it helps you to understand how you can apply those teachings to your own individual life experience, to your own mind. Okay, and so what is important about practice of shamatha, that besides, so it actually does two purposes. One, it helps you to tame your own mind, which we will talk about more. But another, it actually helps you to understand how this computer of your mind is working, how this programming, like in your mind, how much your mind is not free. When we speak about not free mind that is not free, I mean that we are programmed to certain behaviors, to certain reactions, which are automatic. And so that's the absence of freedom. We think that we have freedom to choose, but these habitual tendencies choose before. So basically, those habitual tendencies are ruling. You know, we speak about 4 types of obscuration to freedom of happiness. So those 4 types of obscuration is, first, not recognizing the nature of your mind that is not non-dual. So when we read prayer of Samantabhadra, it says there, to pass and to fruition. With every thought that is arising, with every concept that is arising, there is potential to recognize or not to recognize. When we recognize, so basically this is path to Buddhahood. When we don't recognize, this is path to enforcing I. So when we do not recognize the nature of our mind, this illusory I created, and this illusory I is a base for arising of negative emotions. So basically, I is sustained by negative emotions. So negative emotions is something that feeds this illusory I. And and increases this dualistic, like makes this dualistic perception like more concrete. So first, so as I say, first obscuration and non-recognition, which is a base for I, and then on the base on that we have like negative emotions. There are main 6 negative emotions, which is attachment, anger, pride, ignorance, jealousy, doubts, and wrong views. So, And then when we are acting on a basis of these 6 negative emotions, we create karma. And when I say act, it does not necessarily mean that you're going and doing something. When you have this emotion and you have reaction and there is no recognition, there is no awareness of this emotion, it's already imprinted in your mind. So next time in similar situation, you will have tendency act the same, to have the same emotion. And that's tendency called karmic habituation. So that's what 4 obscurations are. Like I, which arising on non-recognition, which is a base for I, then 6 negative emotions, or like afflictive emotions. They're not necessarily, we don't call them like negative, like bad, but they're afflictions. And then karma, and then karmic habituation, karmic tendencies. So these are 4 main things, and I do want me to repeat 6 afflictive emotions. So that's attachment, anger, pride, ignorance, jealousy, doubts, and wrong views. But it all comes to 3 main: attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So all this like jealousy and doubts, it's already arising on the base of these 3. So ignorance is first because it's non-recognition. And on the basis of ignorance, we have attachment and aversion. So basically that I, which appears on the basis of ignorance, there's like kind of emotion of fear. It's like, it's a confusion, which has this kind of uncertainty. And there is like seed of fear, basically aversion. So on basis of that, we have strong attachment and aversion and so forth. And all negative emotions are based on this. So any practice that we perform, whatever, whether it's Shamata practice, whether it's deity practice, Guru Yoga, 6 yogas, anything. So any practice that we do are aimed at these 4 obscurations. So if you are able to practice Mahamudra, you can cut the root of obscuration, non-recognition. That's why we say like Mahamudra, Dzogchen, these practices that lead to the experience of natural mind, they cut the root of samsara because they cut the root of ignorance, non-recognition. And with that, there is no basis for arising of negative emotions and karma. But if we are not able to sustain the state of mind all the time, we work with conceptual aspect of this. We work with recognition of negative emotion, with transformation of negative emotions, with purification of karma. So all these different practices aimed to reduce these habitual tendencies. How is happening when we concentrate on practice, our mind does not wander. We do not feed these habitual tendencies. And also we cultivate pure view, pure concepts. So that's what karma purification is. And also, like, there are many methods like altruistic motivation, bodhicitta, devotion through Guru Yoga, and other methods which aim these 4 types of obscurations. So it's very important to understand these concepts before sitting to practice, because if we don't understand it, we just will be, some people just sit down, they wait until the end of session, and of course it has some benefits when we recite mantra or try to calm our mind, but with proper understanding, the benefit is much bigger, and we can progress and pass much faster. So here we come to practice of shamatha. I know there are so many concepts about this practice. Some people think it's really boring, or some people think it's for beginners. But the thing is, no matter what people think, when they start to practice any types of practice, for example, if it's a deity practice and they don't know how to concentrate on seed syllable, that when they put their attention on, place their attention to seed syllable, this is shamatha practice. So when we speak about shamatha practice or vipassana practice or mahamudra practice, the person can say anything. The person can think that they practice mahamudra. But no matter what people think or say, like if they cannot concentrate properly, if they have dualistic perception, so whenever they place attention on an object, it is first stage of shamatha. So, and then we can speak about anything else, we can speak that we practice mahamudra or dzogchen, or I know that some people, actually I met some people who were thinking that they know how to practice mahamudra, but then when it came to highest practices and nothing happening, and so because mahamudra, you cannot plan to enter the state of mahamudra. This is spontaneously. So it's through proper concentration, or it's through accumulation of merit and wisdom, this state of mind naturally kind of unfolding. So you cannot, unless you're like really stable in this practice of mahamudra, you can sit down and just go into the state. But if not, so it will happen spontaneously. But before that happens spontaneously, we have to learn how to concentrate. So because even when we practice guru yoga, which is a door to the experience of nature of mind, we'll need to be able to concentrate at least on the image of guru. So like whatever we do in practice, there is this aspect of concentration, which is very important. So, and now there are 9 levels of shamatha. So I don't think we'll be going through all of them during today and tomorrow, but at least I want you to understand what should happen on the stages. And when we practice shamatha, it's also the practice happening in your own mind. So it means that you cannot plan when are you going to practice the next stage of shamatha. So the next stage is unfolding when you are stable on previous stage. So you cannot tell yourself, okay, you cannot plan, okay, this week I'm practicing this and this stage, in 2 months I'm practicing this and this stage. So because stage will depend on your own practice. And and then you will notice that it is not linear. It's not that you just achieve this stage and you stable there and you go to the next stage. Your mind fluctuates. Even during one session, you might go through different stages of shamatha. And sometimes you might even experience a natural state of mind. So it's not like you just until you reach the last level, like 9 stage of shamatha. So your mind will fluctuate, and you might jump from you might achieve like 5th or 6th stage, and then you go down to 4th to 3rd. But you don't need to tell yourself, oh, now I'm in this stage, I'm this stage. It's very important to understand what's going on in your mind, so what you can expect right now, and because depending on what stage of shamatha you are, the means of concentration might be a little bit different. You know, the skillful means might be a little bit different. So, but with practice, you learn about your own mind. And then you know this, okay, there are these stages, but then it's, nobody can tell you, like right now you practice like fifth or sixth stage. So you yourself, like you will have experience in your mind, and you will know whether you're ready for the next stage. So when I'm explaining this, it might look very complicated, but it's actually much easier. With my own experience of shamatha, I understood that next stage always unfolding naturally. So, and you just have to recognize it. You cannot force it. Okay. And with anyone has questions? So everything is clear. Yeah. So where oh, sorry, there is question. Okay. So with very first stage of shamatha, it is called placement, resting or placement. So on this stage, you have the object of concentration, and you place your attention on this object. We have some rocks and shells. Could you please pass? Please choose one rock or one shell. This is, and then after practice, please put them back. So because we borrowed it from the houses, you know, just yeah. Please choose one object. So it doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, thank you. This is magic one.
Lama, am I giving you one also?
Yes, thanks a lot. Thank you. So I'm not going to explain a lot about objects, just few words. The object should be simple. Yeah, it can be also statue of Buddha. It should be simple, something that does not trigger concepts, you know, some neutral object. Yeah, I was using like rocks, and found very helpful. So usually object we place the object on a level so that it would be easy that your gaze naturally fall on it, you know. So now we have maybe these tables are too low, but when you practice at home, just place it on such height that it will be you will, when you look at it, you don't have to create lots of effort. And so it's very important that your back is straight. So whether you're sitting on cushion or on a chair, straight, and your shoulders are open, but without effort. You know, like it's, the pose should be very comfortable. And when you place your gaze on the object, so we're talking right now about outer object, because there are different ways of doing shamatha with outer object, inner object, so forth. So this is like the first thing with outer object, and there is lots of information about how to sit properly, how to gaze properly, but the most important that your back is should be straight. And you when you look at the object, do not strain your eyes, you know, it should be very soft, because practice of shamatha, practice of concentration, like real concentration, comes from the balanced state of mind. Its real concentration is very soft. You don't need to feel any kind of your body. Yeah, there should be no tension in your attention or in your body. But at the beginning, it's hard to avoid. So just be aware of it. And so this first stage is when we direct our mind to the object. So through looking at the object, this is skillful means to direct our mind. So to help our mind not to wander, you should understand it, that looking at the object is skillful means, because it helps you not to forget about object, and it helps stop mind wandering. Usually we grasp at concepts that arise in our mind without even noticing it. So this is just a skillful means, so we learn how not to grasp. This is not the stage where we are really concentrating. This is more like when we are training to be training out our attention, and where we learn how to remember, how not to forget about the object. But so first we might place our attention to the object, and the next moment we might forget about this. So this is okay. We're just habituating. We're just habituating to direct our attention, our mind to the object. So if we forget, it is normal. So, and because some people like get very discouraged, they look at the object, they forget about this, and they got bored, and they think that they are not good practitioners. But there are no bad practitioners or good practitioners. There are the practitioners who practice, and those who do not practice. So basically, but so then at this stage, you try to keep your attention on object without wandering. And when you forget about object, you bring your attention to the object. So we try this way. We'll try many different ways of practicing, but right now we'll try this way, and then I want to hear your feedbacks. So we will do this for let's say we will do this for 10 minutes. Okay.
You like?
Thank you. So, because I also I don't want to look at the watch when I'm practicing, because when you're looking at the watch, your mind gets distracted. So I'm just setting it up for 10 minutes. Oh yeah, maybe I can have this just to start.
To start, yeah.
Thank you. So was it easy or was it difficult? Like how you found, were you able to sustain your attention on the object all the time without interruption? So, and so as there are also like different levels of sustaining attention. Sometimes you can be present completely at this moment with placing your attention on object, but sometimes you just able to kind of hold on it barely and like try to remember. So this first stage is placing of attention, and second stage is trying not to lose it. Basically, I mean, like not even not trying. We will lose it, but trying to remember about object, and remembering about object is not really that level of concentration we are talking about yet. So questions?
Hello? Can you guys hear me? Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning.
Morning, Flora. I was a little confused. It was hard to tell. Were we supposed to be having our eyes open looking at the object, or it's just looking at the object and closing our eyes and visualizing it?
Okay, in this exact exercise, we are looking at the object. So we're using outer object like stones, you know, or shells or any other small object you place in front of you and you look at it. So your eyes are open. And this is method which helps us not to forget that we're placing our attention on an object. So there are many different techniques of doing shamatha. So we can do it on outer object when we are looking at the object or like hearing object, or we can do shamatha with inner visualization, like vajra recitation or concentration on a seed syllable. In this particular exercise, we keep our eyes open and we look at the object, and this helps us not to forget. Or like when we forget, it helps us bring our attention back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Hello? Okay, so finally, thank you. So from my observation, it's like there is this mindfulness or attention that it comes and goes like in waves. So first, like when you apply mindfulness, it stays on the object for some time, and then gradually it just slowly like fades away, and sometimes like without us noticing it. So I heard like there must be, with mindfulness, there must be also like this attentiveness that like notices that like previous application of mindfulness gradually fades, and it just tells us that like, okay, now we're losing it, and then we like apply another, so to like wave of mindfulness, so to speak.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, when like if for those of you who might didn't understand this, we're talking about like more advanced levels of shamatha, when we are able already to remember about object, or we, let's say, like we might still lose our concentration on object, we might still forget, or like, so when we recognize the moments where we are about to forget. So, but here it's about, you're asking about like mindfulness, like you're about asking about that, you're asking about this moment where you're about to forget. And there is this kind of mindfulness kicks in and informs you, yeah, kind of. So it's you get this notice, yeah, it's I'm about to forget, So you have to kind of apply more attention, yeah?
Yeah, and like so it's like waves. So first the wave of mindfulness comes and you can clearly concentrate on the object. But then it just like I don't know, like naturally or just fades away. So is the goal here just to extend this period of mindfulness so
Yeah.
we do not lose it, or we have to be mindful and attentive when we're losing the mindfulness to apply it right away after we notice that we're about to
So
lose it?
that's a very good question. So this is already, I say, this is more like the next steps. So we will be covering them, but in like right now to answer your questions, yes, it comes in waves. When we concentrate, we might notice that like this moments of clarity, or like when you're able to be with object, they were like very easy, and you're here and now at this moment, and you're like there is nothing disturbing, there is no tension, and then it kind of fades away, and this unclarity kind of covers it. And here is what should we do. And so basically with practice, the goal is to extend this moment of clarity, but also we should do it without like tension. And you remember the like Buddha's teachings that when some moments it's like playing instrument, you know, like the string, that's moment where you actually tuning the string. And this actually this teaching of Buddha about tuning the string, it applies to few levels. So it's not only like when you're sleepy, you have to kind of get, you know, like use means which will help you to be fresh, or when you're very excited, just calm down. So this is just outer level. But when we actually start looking in mind, yeah, when you feel that it's going to fade away, you just have kind of to like pull the string, you know, like the tune it, and just try to stay with it. And sometimes it's like you will feel a little bit of tension, but you're still able to be with object. And this when this moment of openness, this wave of openness again comes, so this tension disappears, but you at least you remember about object without interruption.
Thank you.
So a lot of times I'm able to concentrate on the stone, but my mind is, thinking about millions of other things, and I'm seeing faces in the stone, and then there's a different face going that way, and it's kind of cool. Um, but I mean, so I wonder, is that just the first stage or first couple of stages, and eventually your mind isn't going to be, I mean, I'm thinking of lots of stuff, but I can look at the stone. And again, like I say, I'm seeing things in there and that kind of thing. So that's my first thing. My second thing is whenever I do this staring thing, I tend to get a headache, attention. And it just makes it really unpleasant that I don't want to really do it because it doesn't feel good. So I'm just wondering if those two things, my mind's off somewhere else, though I'm looking. Visually, I'm concentrating. And if you have any suggestions about how to maybe not get a headache or tension.
So first part of the question, yeah, we at the beginning we see faces, we like see different colors or whatever. We concentrate on shapes, you know. So this just shows our habitual tendencies. So basically, you become aware that you have this habitual tendency to conceptualize whatever, you know, like even if it's like just a rock, you know, or just a piece of shell. So you still like have this habit to turn it into something else. So it just shows you that you have these habits, and it's interesting that you have like that your habits appear based on your sense faculties, on your human body, because whatever shapes you see, that's something that you can imagine, you can see with your physical eyes. I mean, like, is there any tendency to see similar shapes, or like what kind of, we are not here actually to go into details of what kind of shapes you see or whatever, but you can see, at least you can recognize this is your habitual tendency, because even when you just look at the rock, you have tendency to apply your conceptual thinking or conceptual habits to even to this task, but it will go away. Also, this helps us to show how our mind is like unruled, untamed. And this actually happens in our mind all the time. We're just not aware of it. But when we try to concentrate on something, so then all this, we start to notice this tendency. So it's like you're starting to notice your habitual tendencies, that no matter what you do, like even if you try not to think, you still think kind of these things, like, so this is not that awareness we are looking for, but it is already a step to that awareness, that like recognition. And with it will go away with practice, as you concentrate on this practice more and more and more, this habitual tendency to kind of give it to kind of to put concepts of shapes and faces and whatever will fade away. But with headaches, it's because you are tense, you're putting tension, when you're concentrating. And sometimes we think that we are relaxed, but we are not. I remember myself practicing Shamata at the beginning. I can tell you I was so tense, like that, like I was clenching my fists so bad. I had like marks here, from my nails. No, and I can tell you, like, I was doing some things not right at the beginning, because I was putting lots of effort. I was sitting, I was crying, I was like really, like, I was not, I mean, like, I could move my legs, so in body I felt comfortable, but in my mind, like, I suffered so much. And to kind of to cut through this suffering and to be able to concentrate on object, I was using lots of physical tension. So which then later kind of I mean, like, I was able to manage it when my concentration became more stable. I was able to get rid of this physical tension. But with shamatha practice, we also say it's like we're habituating not to grasp for concepts that arise in our mind. And for this, we should not put a goal, like we have a goal kind of to learn how to concentrate. But with the practice of shamatha, it's about habituating, not to grasp. So, and here we are grasping for object. This is skillful means, because we are not used not to grasp. We're using skillful means of grasping for one sole object. And so, and because, we're still grasping, it creates tension in our body, and that's where headache come from, because we're tense. But also we can apply this kind of method. Do you remember there is instruction for visualization in deity practice? When you look at the picture and you close your eyes and you keep the picture in your mind, you do not force it to remain there, but it's just like you allow it to be there until it fades away, and then you look at the picture. It's like you're picturing it, like imprinting it in your mind without forcing it. So you look at it and then you close your eyes and it stays and then it fades and you look at it again. So you habituating. So this is also, you habituate to the object or to the placing your attention to the on an object. You can try, if you get like headaches, you can try also like look at the object and close your eyes and stay like that, looking at the object in your mind. So, and allow it to fade away. And then look at it again until it's really imprinted in your mind. So, and then you will experience this kind of relaxation of your mind. So it's not about, I say also we are grasping at the object of concentration because it helps us not to grasp at our habitual tendencies, but this tension comes because we kind of forcing ourselves away from our habitual tendencies. But with concentration, our habitual tendencies will fade away and our mind will naturally relax. So it just like, it's when we do shamatha practice, we just sit and we just look at the object and we don't do anything. So that's it. We just look at it. And then thoughts arise, and it's okay. We get distracted. But then we looked at the object and we remember. So when we remember, we place our attention on the object. And still, and we like we do not force ourselves to grasp for object.
It's such a revealing education. It makes me think of this verse from Jamgon Controls the Greats, calling the Lama from afar. He says, when I sit down to do my practice, my mind is dull, foggy, and I'm nowhere. But when I'm engaged in non-virtue and distracted thought, I have tremendous clarity.
That's true. Do you guys want to take 5-minute break? Or you want?
Maybe so.
Yeah, okay. Let's do 5-minute break. And then if you have malas, prepare malas because we'll be using them for next exercise.
The store is open.
Come on, don't stand, please.
Well, there it is. There it is. Oh.
Please don't stand. Please. No, please. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah, so just.
We'll ring the bell for the break.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked.
High alert, I'd be on high alert if I was in Zangmo.
A day is 40 minutes. Yeah, casinos. It's amazing. It's like, what is this? Some of these. It's like, it's just like the same shot. Wow. Yeah, that is really, that is kind of amazing to like look at photographs.
I mean, someone who was so impressive.
Well, my physical eyes will do that.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Vegetarian, Buddhist, everything. He had his own lifetime, you know.
To my eyes.
I know.
I mean, it's like, you know.
Well, I go in the action, I have the eyes.
But I like what you see it. I like what you talk about.
And when I was there,
For like his whole life. What do you think about that? I never saw it.
yeah, I mean, so there was all.
It's great.
Then my mind would go to.
The more you read, you see, you
That worked out.
the problem with this, when you look at that simple analysis, where does the sun come from? Maybe an outer trigger, but that's much too, but nonetheless, it's your own mind that's creating the suffering, so that's where the answer has to be.
Right, now I'm getting ready for my Dharma karma. So there's two forms of karma, the ones that make good things and bad things, and there's the ones, the ignorance karma, where you think that something outside yourself is actually objectively.
I'm sure we were, constantly,
That is.
going out.
So that's amazing, so it's amazing to have the perspective again, how quickly you can something outside of anything, there's nothing outside of the system. Well, that's right, well, it's right there. All places are
And then,
right there.
I started to get,
And then the compass.
and I'm not kidding, it was just, I kind of like it. I know, that's why, now I'm clinging. So I totally am actually fine with this. I gotta have the rock, no, I have to have the rock. I'm attached to that. I'm attached to the rock.
No, I'll let it go. It's just like the split screen, the wave of particles, it's, the quantum eraser, which I still don't understand, sorry. I have. Oh, yeah, that is great. And Frank, the picture you do on Thursday, I'm so grateful. Sorry. You're such a,
And truthfully, it's actually a very simple conceptual experiential, it's different. It's so, it's a Charlie really is.
oh, yeah.
You know, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Force to push away your medicine.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, because I was like, oh, look, I'm lunch. So the thing is, I'm looking at the snow, I'm thinking lunch, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's all. Oh, that's great. So Frank, I did have a question. So I am able to look at the film and look at it, and know it's there. But I'm also having like 17,000 thoughts running around. I'm looking at them, like, oh, it's a big stone. But I'm literally thinking about 1,000 things I have to do and all this sort of stuff. Is that even?
Yeah, I'm dead now, Charlie, but I can go more.
Because eventually, I mean, in our country, you seem to like multitasking. If I didn't pasta and drug and food, like, yeah, oh, it's all about focus, right? Yeah. No.
I did that. But I can't.
Well, so what? Yeah. But
I mean, it's nice.
Yeah.
That's all.
Then it's easier, much
The
easier.
difference is, but you get that understanding coming out of experience rather than just.
right, of course.
Your mind, great servant, well, but it's terrible master.
To quote you. Sorry, I should my way out of it. Yeah. Right, yeah. And that's what's interesting, because I always say this to people, I have a friend of mine meeting me here to pick up some of the milk I got. And I found this something, yeah, like, dude, you're like, that's what you're doing, you're thinking about everything so much, you're crapping on your life. And I love what she said today about like, that it's the negativities that solidify the I. That's the golden nugget that I've taken away today, kind of thing. Because again, the correct view, ultimate view, you don't have to that everything, seeing everything is pure, which you see Thursday.
What she did on that leadership lab, the 4 levels of spiritual quality. I was looking at how high.
Interesting enough, because that's how I've is that you start as the Buddha and you walk your way out, and that makes it easier when you're actually getting, so you're having your backpack, you're coming out of the jungle, and you're seeing whatever it is, and you're coming into the mandala, and you're getting rid of stuff, and you're seeing the guards who are trying to block you, and you're coming in, and all the food, first you crowd in with all the people, and they're eating the food, and you're wondering about this, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like, so I always thought it was, I've always been told that it's easier to start from the inside. Is that traditional? Okay, right. Okay.
All there is to it. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And all the complications come.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. Man, I really thought I wanted to, I was doing, I wanted to teach this stuff for so long. Older. And then to realize that I know, a long time.
Syllable, whatever. It's all. But the thing is, the faith comes in. Yeah. Some level this could work. You know, that's it, because then you go through it, you're right. People sit down and get very discouraged.
Yeah. I had my four course, aggressive. It's like I was just sticking my finger in the back of my face, my skull. This works. But oh my god, why? So I always come back to this. Back with sulfur. So you know that everything is set. You know that everything actually works.
This thing is well, what's dissatisfactory is the wrong view.
Right.
Because with it moves that iron they're actually we're not free. But when those are gone, you're free, then you enjoy the donut.
Yeah, right. Because I was just thinking, because I was thinking about your donut. I actually have a concern right here, stuff like that.
We're now hitting you.
And they were glad. I love that you said earlier that all the I is solidified by negative thoughts. That was so golden.
Oh, no, I did not mean that by negative thoughts, but
right.
distraction, more like
Oh,
distraction.
there we go, distraction. Okay.
But it's, I mean, goes to the same.
All right, okay. All right, well, maybe if you want,
Right.
elaborate.
You can ask questions,
It's
so
just pure
then
experience.
everybody
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
hear. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Non-conceptual.
I have to say, Frank, that looks like a great donut.
I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, magically. Well, there we go. Everything is easy. Magically came out of nothing. Stays for a while.
Homer goes to donut hell.
Goes to donut hell. Yes. Really?
That's like the best Homer Simpson.
Are those
I know. Their creativity is amazing. They've never gotten stale.
Amazing. Actually, one of my friends wrote a few of the episodes. I really love that one. He wrote that episode.
Okay, friends, so we can do another exercise. When we practice first and second stage of shamatha, we notice that we forget. As I said, first stage of shamatha, when we place our attention to the object, whether it's outer object or inner, here is outer object, and then next stage we cultivate this remembering aspect. So remembering aspect is also belongs to awareness aspect. So awareness has different levels. Yeah. So awareness, it's being able, like ability to awareness helps us not to get distracted, but that awareness which keeps which helps us to concentrate on object without breaking our attention is we reach to this level, like it's fourth, fifth, sixth level of shamatha. But right now, if we don't have it, we cultivate remembering. And when we remember about object of our concentration and we're placing our attention there, then we do not feed our karmic habitual tendencies. And when we don't feed our karmic habitual tendencies, they fade away. It's like they die, like whatever, they disappear. We do not reinforce them. So, and then when they fade away, our mind becomes calm and clear. So, clarity of mind or calmness of mind, this is natural state which unfolds when we do not grasp for our habitual tendencies. But we cannot cultivate clarity just by deciding I'm cultivating clarity. It's a kind of byproduct, like, so it's our natural quality of our mind, but because we cannot directly reach it, we have to try kind of go around. We are using skillful means which are using concepts, and stone is a concept which helps grasping at which, like holding on which, helps us to release grasping on other concepts, on habitual tendencies. So it's very important to understand what has to happen in your mind during practice of shamatha, because it is not only like sitting down and spending 15 minutes or 15 hours looking at the object and expecting that your mind will calm down. You might get sleepy, or like you might not be able to calm down, but placing attention on outer object helps to kind of calm down habitual tendencies and will help us to turn our attention in our mind. So basically, looking at outer object is a skillful means to turn our attention inside. Because like real practice of shamatha, as I said, it's not only sitting and looking at object. This is working with our mind. So at the beginning, we just looked on outer object, but later, like second stage, third stage, we are turning our attention in our mind. Our gaze is like we place our gaze on the outer object, but we look inside. And this will happen naturally. So all the stages of shamatha will unfold naturally if you do all the steps right, and here we are placing like our attention on outer object, and when we forget, we bring our attention back. So, and next we try not to forget. In order not to forget, like when we did this 10 minutes exercise, maybe you were able not to forget, maybe not, maybe some, I remember like doing, honestly, I remember like doing at the beginning, from my own experience, I would place attention on object. Sometimes would remember about this like in 40 minutes, you know, so like I would have like this long sessions, like 2 hours, 3 hour session, and there is object in front of me, or like there is inner object, and I place my attention, I sustain it for some time, and I completely forget, and my mind is wandering. And it's interesting, the more the aspect of clarity kind of unfolding, the more colorful your thoughts become. That's what I noticed, yeah. And then if you are carried away, you like carried away in stories, you know, like you can write books, you know, like honestly. So the more clarity in your mind you have as a product of practice, the more colorful and interesting your concepts becomes, and it's harder to kind of, once you grabbed at them, it's hard to come back, you know. So what's happening, so but it's normal. So that's why we have this object for reference, like for bringing our attention back. And here, so I would like to us to do another exercise, and I'm just trying to figure out how it works. So I have this really wonderful app, Mindfulness Bell, and which I can set up like so it would sound every minute or every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes. I'm using it in my daily life, you know, sometimes. So it's just like I'm doing something and it sounds like every 10 or 15 minutes, and like I'm just checking my attention, my concentration. But here, it's I set it up to sound like to ring every minute. So, and I would like us to do like this 10 or 15-minute exercise. And like every time you hear the sound of the bell, this is helpful. This is skillful mean to bring your attention back. Every time you hear it, you place your attention back to the object, and you can count, like I use like these counters a lot, you know, or like you can use mala. So when you remember is about object, you can click, you know. When you don't remember, you just pass. And then at the end of exercise, you can count how many times you were able to remember, like how many bells like
Right.
you were able to remember. And it turns practice into game, you know. It's actually becomes fun. So so let's do this exercise, and try to see how many times upon bell sound you will be present with the object. Okay. Okay, we did this exercise for 15 minutes, and you can see how many times you were able to remember. But also sometimes when we do some exercise for first time, we're kind of excited and it's fun, and so we get good results. And then when we do more, we get I guess we get less results. So it's important to understand that you might have experienced more like cool results at the beginning of practice, and then don't be disappointed, like if later it looks worse. And so I was really experimenting a lot in my practice in regards to remembering and awareness, and like sometimes I would have like small diary, I just like would write how many times or whatever I was able to remember or I was not able to remember. Like how many times I was able to remember during practice or like during my daily activities. And then I actually understood that your concentration in daily activity is always like step behind. And it's really interesting to look at the progress as like your concentration in your practice during your session kind of getting better, and the same as your concentration in daily life, but it's always stays behind, to certain level, yeah, to certain points. So, but and it's really cool because I was playing with so many activities, like when you're walking in a park, when you're like washing dishes, like whatever repetitive activity you have, you can set up, a clock, or you can set up this app with mindful bell, and then you can record, and it's like really, really lots of fun, and it's like practice for me is interesting because I made like I make it as a game. I compare, I try to see what's working, what's not working, and then and it's really interesting. So you can also use these methods. The same applies to mantra recitation, but during mantra recitation you can use mantra itself as an object for like as a tool for remembering. For example, if it's long mantra, you can commit to remember through entire mantra circle. For example, I remember in my first Yamantaka retreat many years ago, I was using Yamantaka mantra. So when I would start Om Eka Yama, so I would set for myself, this intention until I finish the mantra, I don't forget. And so at the beginning, I was not able to keep my attention all the time, but somehow this intention would help me to bring my, like I was able to remember at the end of mantra just before starting new cycle. So it's really interesting to look how your mind is working. Even your intention like bringing your memory back, and then you're able like to remember like in fragments, you kind of swimming through this mantra, and you kind of at some moment becomes clear and then you forget, and but then you're able to remember through entire mantra, and then okay, so I'm trying to remember from one mantra to the next mantra, and like okay, there are like 5 mantras you were able to remember, not to forget. It's really like really fun, like so then you use mantra itself as a tool, and you concentrate on this hung syllable and your mantra, and you do visualization, and of course it's with mantra, I found with mantra recitation it's kind of easier to remember than just with object. And the same we're doing with Vajra recitation. But with Vajra recitation, we concentrate on this red ball in navel area. And so there are so many ways actually to practice Shamata, or like remembering with all these practices. and you kind of have this intention from the beginning of this cycle, Om Ahum, until the end, I don't forget, you know, and the next cycle. So, and at the beginning you train to remember, but then when your mind becomes calm and you're able to remember, then you are able to look at the more deep levels of your mind. So it's not only about remembering. Remembering is a tool which helps you then turn your attention into your mind and look in your mind. And this all these levels will unfold naturally. It's not that you have to cultivate awareness and clarity. Clarity will unfold naturally when your mind calm. Awareness will unfold naturally. And at some point you notice, oh, I have awareness. It's not that you have to remember, I have to cultivate awareness. Yeah, this too. But then when your mind calm and you understand that really awareness is shining by itself when my mind is calm, and clarity and awareness are the natural qualities of my mind when it's calm. Not sleepy calm, but when it's calm, when you do not grasp for your habitual tendencies. Any questions?
There, testing. There we are. Lama, you said earlier that the I think the words you used were, the I is sustained by negative emotions. And then you mentioned that it was more of a clinging experience. Can you elaborate on that idea? Thank you.
So when this illusory I appears as a result of non-recognition, so basically what happens when we do not recognize the nature of our mind, or like that everything that is arising is inseparable, everything is manifestation of the nature of our mind. So when there is this recognition but there is no recognition of it, then there is kind of moment of it is like we faint, like when you faint and there is like you kind of wake up and you cannot understand what's going on. So this is very primitive explanation, but that's what's happening. So it's actually we're looking for this basis. So when we forget that everything that is arising or is manifestation of this basis, so then when we kind of cut off from this experience from this recognition, then there is this tendency to find this base, and there is like kind of uncertainty, and this uncertainty is connected to what we say fear. And so this uncertainty and this kind of intention to find this basis, but because there is no recognition already, so there is like kind of separation. So there is this basis, and this is like intention to kind of have this basis, and this intention is connected with illusory something, which then we call I. So, and it happens very quickly. And so basically, when on the basis of this like kind of non-recognition and this confusion, this I is arising, this I is looking for basis, but it's already kind of just presence of I is already confirms duality. And this I is looking for comfort, we can say, like for basis, for its roots or whatever can sustain it. But because I already is confirming the presence of duality, it by itself cannot go back to this base. And so then I is looking for this base out of this and taking as a kind of as a ground this first emotion of confusion and fear. And this is already, we can say, seed for this first emotion. So basically everything else, we can say I is a product, I is already product of this confusion. So it can be sustained only by confusion. So, and all these emotions that are arising, it's like, it's kind of, I is trying to find a comfortable place for itself, let's say, and trying all these different kind of clinging to different aspects of non-recognized arising, which and this clinging is already attachment. So the aversion and attachment already is, and I is product of that. And so I can be sustained only by this because it's arising on a basis of ignorance, of confusion, of attachment. So because that's where it is arising from, this is only thing that can sustain I. So basically the way back to kind of to our origin is through working with emotions, through transforming these clinging emotions into altruistic intentions. Because altruistic intentions, this is something that when we turn our attention to others, through this altruistic intention, I disappears momentarily. So it also proves that I is illusory. So, does it answer the question?
I am here right now.
Hmm?
I am here now.
Yes. And you're talking, okay, when we speak about negative emotions, so we call this like, it's more like, not negative, it's like obscuration. Because when we speak like negative emotion, we have tendency to perceive every emotion as bad, as negative. This is not the meaning. The meaning is like emotions which arise on a base of clinging are obscuration to perceive your true nature. But originally we say I. Whatever is manifestation is manifestation of the nature of mind. I is a product of non-recognition of that manifestation. So we can say kind of I also come from the same basis, but through non-recognition of this basis.
Can we say that, for example, when we talk about I, well, when I mean, when I realize that, for example, I exist, and when I think that I exist, this is this I, this awareness of this existence is this I that realizes it, or is I, when we say I, refers to, like, for instance, my concept of what I am, what is my name, what are my qualities, what I can do, what I cannot do, and this is my concept of my I. And then it comes with, say, like, idea how others should treat me, what I deserve, or based on my good qualities or bad qualities, or this is the concept of. So is this the concept of I, or the concept of I is when I just, my awareness that realizes that something exists or I exist, and this is I. Like, I don't know
So
if it's,
okay,
it
so
sounds
basically we
clear,
speak
makes
about
sense.
here is like I is we need to understand the law of karma, because the I which you're talking about with all this branches of expectation, or trying to, like, all these branches, how other trees, how I, like, this is already this should be, you should look at this through the law of karma. So basically, we can say simply, whatever arising, whatever manifestation is, whatever manifests from the nature of mind, so there should be like recognition together coming with manifestation. Every manifestation comes with recognition of this manifestation. But when there is no recognition, then kind of I kind of takes place of this recognition and puts, it's like a mask of whatever appearing I is using in order to kind of to put it like a mask, like you know. And then whatever we speak about, what you talk about can be the product of I, if it's based on a grasping, you know. But basically, yeah, that's also I. But when we speak about I, we don't speak about I like something like really bad, but we speak about I like a confusion. But why we practice deity, why we do deity practice? Deity practice helps to exchange this, transform this I into the Sambhogakaya, into the deity. So in deity, there is still like presence of duality, but it's already like your karmic tendencies, which I using for its growing, transformed into the deity. So basically, what it depends how you look at it. So if you look from the point of view of grasping, then we speak this is like I, samsaric I. If you look at this from the point of altruistic motivation, then it becomes a deity.
Is it correct to say when, for instance, we focus on an object when we're doing shamatha meditation, and at the moment when we are concentrated on the object fully, then there is no I at this moment, because like at this moment you don't think that who is concentrated on the object, who realizes the existence of the object. It's just there is this just recognition that the object is there. So can we say that at this moment there is like no I grasping?
No, in shamatha practice there is I.
There is I.
Because in shamatha practice there is still duality. So, and when we have duality, we have I. So shamatha practice is kind of a skillful means to like to let go grasping at your habitual tendencies, but we are still grasping at the object, and there is still the notion of object and subject. So there is still even if your concentration is very good, if you like are able to concentrate one point and listen with like really concentrate very good on an object, you still, there is still duality present. And when there is duality, there is I, even if you don't think about this, even if you don't feel like this. So, and in shamatha practice is a conceptual practice. It's like this is a concept. So shamatha practice is a basis to train your mind, so you can go beyond the concept, so you can understand that machine of your mind, how it grasps at the concept. But there is still I.
Thank you.
And it shows you how powerful the habits are,
Indeed.
because you can see all the distractions, the mind calming down and all of that, and yet still there's this sense that I am meditating. That I is so powerful. And even when you're not paying attention to it and you're not actually conceiving, oh, there's an I, you still have this sense that somehow the sense of duality is so strong that it seems natural. And you can see why that's the basis of suffering and hatred, because it's a very high state really to get beyond that.
happily in practice, you can have moments when you're beyond it. So you start having confidence in, well, this is actually valid. And even though I'm distracted 99.9999999% of the time, you've seen something that allows you to, it's like they say the Lama can take you to the top of a mountain and you can see the ocean off in the distance. Many, you can see the mountain ranges, ups and downs. Oh my goodness. And you know you're not there in a sense, but at the same time, you know you really are there, but you just are seeing it wrong. So it gives someone great, confidence, even in a distracted state, that there's something more than this.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, but until we are able to abide in a natural state of mind, there is I. So altruistic motivation helps to dissolve I. It's kind of skillful means like not to concentrate on ourselves. And then concentration, like in Shamata practice, helps to clear our mind so we can concentrate on whatever we need, and then deity practice helps to kind of release a little bit grasping on I. But for as long as there is perception of subject and object, there is I.
Instead of I am hungry, I should just offer food to the deity, right?
Absolutely. Or you should visualize yourself a deity. You should visualize a deity in your heart or whatever, and then you can exchange your I for the deity. There is still duality. There is still I, but it's already like more pure aspect, because grasping is not so strong.
And sorry too, you made me chuckle. This is really just personal aside, but when she was talking about using the mantra as an object of meditation, for instance, and mentioned specifically Yamataka. For those who don't know, Yamataka is a very long mantra, like Vajrasattva. And the first Yamataka that I was at, first one in Arizona, so they give you, the mantra, but now it's 3:00 in the morning, right? And you're trying to remember this mantra. Forget about many from beginning to end. I'm just trying to learn the mantra. And they have the lights down because third of the third of the group is sleeping. You're trying to learn this mantra, and they have the lights down so you can't read. And they printed the mantra on freaking yellow paper. And so forget about Shamata, Vipassana. I'm there struggling, trying to contain my anger at the organizers who thought to turn the lights off and to print it on yellow paper. This is our experience of Dharma, right?
Yeah, so you have to navigate through all these emotions, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I have a question.
You mentioned using mantra like when you do a repetitive practice. So I tend to do that a lot if I'm swimming or jogging because those are very repetitive practices. So I don't feel like I can do a long mantra though, because it just seems like the rhythm goes more with like Om Tare Tu Tare or Omami Dewa Ri. That still is somewhat of a concentration, I believe. Should I be trying to, because I'm still trying to cultivate more this connection with my root deity and that total love and connection to that. Should I make sure that I'm doing that deity's mantra then as much as I can in those daily activities to cultivate more that full like love and connection and union with what I would consider my root deity?
Yes, if you feel like a connection with deity, yeah, it's good to do it. But when you apply when you do mantra in like kind of your regular daily setup, it's important to also to use skillful means, because if you're like swimming and recite mantra, and this like you can lose your presence, like you can do it mechanically, but then if you can combine for somehow, so if you remember, the goal is of these activities is to stay present. So but then if you are visualizing yourself as a deity, the most important, like even more important than reciting mantra of deity, feeling yourself a deity, like giving rise to this pride of the deity. If you are swimming as a Tara, but then there is effect, you're turning entire Lake Ontario into nectar, and everybody who touches it gets some blessing. And that's true. You know, you helping them to connect with Dharma, maybe in million lifetimes. But that's effect of you visualizing yourself as a Tara when you, like, for example, swim, or like when you run, and you can visualize like the Tara sitting on trees, you know, like, and from one tree to another. So it's basically you combine like this remembering techniques also. So it should not become mechanical. Because if you're present is this, you're really sending blessing of your deity. So, and then we speak about like you have to find the skillful means which work for you. You know, when you're like running from one tree to another, so this is skillful means not to forget the Tara sitting on each tree, you know, and you can count how many trees you didn't miss, you know. Like, so, yeah, but that's a great idea to bring deity into your daily activity.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so is this break time?
I think it's break time.
Okay, let's do
Short dedication.
short, yeah.
Okay.
Om mani padme hum ri. 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 Chen Wei Zik Wang Drup Jur Chik Drawa Jik Yang Maluma Dei Sala Gom Harshu.
We're coming back at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.